All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast, episode 110. I am your host, Supreme King. As always, join with me is my co-host, and his name is.
It's your guy on Mazes.
How's everything going, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm actually tired. I've been
You tired?
playing a lot of games. So
Hey, me too.
I'm
We're
doing
gonna get
good.
into those games like right away, but I just want to tell everybody this is a special edition episode, and it is because it is actually a couple days. Oh, well, my birthday was yesterday. When this comes out, it's going to be 2 days later. So wish me a happy birthday in the chat if you don't mind, and like, comment, share, subscribe if you don't mind. But it is a special day because of that, and because of that, I'm actually going to be giving back to you guys slightly, because I'm not actually paying for anything, but I'm providing you a little bit more free games than normal. A lot more free games than normal. So stick with me. I am going to talk more about that around the usual times when I talk about Epic Games free games. And then we're going to get into some more fun stuff later on. And I do have a gaming related story involving GameStop that actually did happen on my birthday that I'm going to save for very, very last. Other than that, I know why everybody's here. They're here for the PS5 Pro talk. I did a brief thing there on my last solo video. Please go check it out if you can. And then now I'm going to get my co-host's take on it, and then I'm going to go into some more details about it. But first, the game on the screen is Lords of the Fallen. I don't know if we showed footage on this before, but this is a game both of you and me are playing right now, technically. Whenever we can. We took like a week or two hiatus,
Like,
but
dude.
we're gonna play it to completion if we can. But my co-host wants to tell you about games he's been playing. This is one of them. Do you want to speak on this first, or do you want to speak on some of the
Yeah.
other ones? Go
So I'll
ahead.
talk on this one first.
All right.
It is okay. So
Yeah.
Lords of the Fallen, it's your Souls-like game. It has a little bit of extra jank to it. Nothing that's like extra game breaking so far. Like we can get through it.
It's
It
no
hasn't been
Elden
like
Ring.
a
It's no
hard
Elden Ring.
reset, but it's no Elden Ring. Yeah, that's a great point. My
It tried
issue,
to be.
my only, yeah, my main issue with the game is there's times where we're going up against like a boss fight and everything, and I see the mistakes I'm making. You're like, dang, like I keep mistiming this dodge, blah blah blah. We're fixing it, and I'm getting better. But then it'll be points where it's not my fault. It's just the game is cheesing, right? Where it'll be like I did a clear dodge through the move, and then the character will fall after the fact on some like glitch hit. Or there's, matter of fact, there was one specifically where the boss stabs like a spear forward, and I
Okay.
had dodged, so I'm to the side of the spear, like I'm standing there, and the spear is fully to the side, and then it just glitches into me, and then I take damage because the boss is doing a slow turn. And it was like, and it was after the fact. I was like, I dodged it already, and like, why is it now glitching in? So it's like, it's one thing if I'm losing because I'm making mistakes. It's another where I'm dying because the game is being glitchy. That's what upsets me with this one.
I think there was one particular boss that we ended up walking away from because he had like a healing effect. It was like a knight that was earlier on. I
Yep.
don't know his full name, but I know. I just thought one day, well, let me just go and look and see some footage of people beating him. And lo and behold, there was like one little gimmick thing that we weren't doing that involved the lamp
Uh-huh.
that allowed.
Funny enough, I did it a couple times, but not the way it was supposed to be done.
Yeah, and I guess it was supposed to debuff him and take away his like summoning like ability or something, and then he would have ended up just being a regular old knight that you can just wail on until it was over. But if you didn't
Yep.
know, then like he would heal himself a bunch of times. He would still have his like ability to do like his little instant transmission thing with his like extra thing. And we were on him for some time, and it was actually like a side boss, right? It wasn't that we weren't that good enough. At least I don't feel like it was. It was just we just weren't understanding the concept. And then when he heals himself, it was just kind of like, all right, we kind of
well,
just
there was a
wasting
point
time.
where he healed. We got him down to a third of health left,
Yeah,
and then he just healed all back.
like he yeah. There was one time I think he doubled healed. Like he almost had his life go completely back up. And at that point, we were out of our own heals and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the whole thing was he had like, because he had light around him, he
Yeah,
had this like, he could summon like a spectral version of himself. So as he was healing, because he also had the light around him, we couldn't hit him because if you got close, the spectral thing will come out and hit you instead.
yeah.
So there was no timing to hit him, so we couldn't even interrupt his healing. So it was just watching him just heal back to full health, and we couldn't do anything. So, and it turns out it's because you were supposed to use the gimmick. I think because this game has, so the game has like this like lamp that like lets you go reach you like to the underworld basically.
Yeah, I think
like,
that's what it's doing right now on the screen,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
So it turns everything to like the upside down from Stranger Things, and I think that that's a heavy gimmick in this game that we were like not necessarily using.
I think this part is a good. This part right here is good footage that I think I couldn't really explain to you at the time, but there were butterfly doors for me that was not for you. And if you did not see the boss right away, like look right here, you see this?
Oh, yeah, those didn't appear for me.
That don't appear for you, but it appears for me. And so while we're playing, I'm in your world, right? And like there are moments where I can literally not move forward until you triggered the boss in the area, even though they put the boss wall this far back, you see? And I was stuck for some time. And you were like in the area. Yeah, and I could not move forward. And so that was probably my biggest gripe so far, because there are also boss walls where it doesn't tell you it's there, but I can see it right away. And then I can't move forward until you do. Right?
Yeah.
And then if you trigger the cutscene, then it teleports me forward. But until then, I'm stuck on this wall where I'm literally just sitting here, just like this.
So my perspective for this, I had to cross over a wooden beam, go down pretty much 2 flights of stairs, and then I got to the boss. So
yeah,
that's what's taking so long, is because there's enemies throughout. So I'm like fighting them, and there was a guy to talk to, like on the way. So
yeah. I think Remnant from the Ashes and Remnant 2 did an excellent job of making it seem like your world was even. It didn't matter who the world, like who it belonged to. Where this game, and then also Code Vein, they had a setup where it's like, you know whose world you're in, and it's still basically, it's a solo game and you're in the solo game, you know.
Yeah.
Because right here, I can't move. You know?
Yep. There was another difference between this and Code Vein.
Mm-hmm.
Code Vein, if you're the guest person, you don't really get to keep all of the equipment stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where in this game, you don't get to pick up random drop items like equipment, but you do get the prizes from boss fights, and all the souls you collect or whatever to like level up. You get to keep those. Where if I die, like, I gotta go back and find where I left off.
Yeah, and I was kind of confused. Like, I didn't know if they were doing that because they were still trying to, like, somehow keep the game difficult or fair, or I don't know what they were thinking about it. But from our perspective, from the player's perspective, you want it to be an even co-op experience if you're going to do co-op, right?
Yep.
And little things like this, like, you're gone for a while, and I'm literally can't move.
Yeah.
And so, like, we could talk through the chat and everything's going on, but this is probably the one thing that I started at first to, like, go past this footage because I didn't think it would be footage that anybody would want to see. And it really isn't, but it's at the same time footage that I think people should see if they wanted to do co-op, just to see how, in a way, the game kind of discriminates. I don't know what the other word to put. Like, you can't, like, one person gets more access, the other person can't do nothing, and it's
It
just
is
like,
not true co-op. It's
yeah,
leader and backup. It's
yeah,
backup that you don't necessarily have to keep resummoning every
mm-hmm,
time you die, like in Code Vein, or like Elden Ring, things like that. Like you don't have to keep resummoning the backup,
yeah,
but you're backup in my world. Like that's no other way to
and
put it.
this footage is about 15 minutes long. We are about 10 minutes and 30 seconds into this, and there's only so much more footage of this. But you like, I don't know what happened. Maybe you died,
Oh
and
yeah.
now you're
Oh no,
back.
I went on like I was walking around, and there was like two paths to go. One
Yeah.
path led to a little treasure, which lets you re-go back, and then the other path was the boss. So I
But
ended
you
up
see,
going to
from
the
my
little treasure.
perspective, in my head, my first thought was that the game glitched.
Yep.
Because this is one of those things where I was just like, well, I can't go forward. And you don't have a butterfly wall. You could go forward.
Nope.
I'm just going the other way
I
because there
didn't
was
know
really
it was a
nothing to
boss fight.
do. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so my thought process, if I ran way far away from you, it would teleport me to you. And it actually did work, if I'm not mistaken. Because, like, I
Yep. There it
teleported
is.
and then I was in there with you. That was the
Boom.
only way I got in. You
Yep.
see what I'm saying? I think that is a bad game design. And it's probably a good thing that we did show it here. Not to, we're bashing the wrong thing, right? We were supposed to be bashing PlayStation, but I just wanted to mention it real quick. We're still gonna play the game. It's definitely not the best game.
Nope.
I think we had a little bit more fun with Evil West. Evil West is a totally different game, but
Yeah.
at
Even
one
West just
point,
had a bug at the end. That
yeah,
was.
we did walk away from it at the end. I don't want to have to walk away from this. I never want to have to walk away from any game.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's another wall right there, and I
So
can't
this
go
is the
through
whole
it.
thing where like because I don't see the butterfly. That's another thing in co-op.
Yeah.
Is right away you can tell me boss fight, like sometimes like for me
So
it's just
I
an
would
opening.
ruin the surprise,
Yep.
basically. But yeah, we finally get to the boss fight. After this, I think the footage is going to change. So, you want to tell me about any other game real quick before we
Yeah.
get to the
So
PlayStation stuff?
I won't go too much detail because I'll wait till we have some footage on them to talk about them. But
Okay.
outside of Lords of the Fallen, I ended up playing a lot of games. So I checked out Sifu finally.
Okay.
That's a pretty fun game. Like it takes some time to kind of not time to learn. Like as you're going through the first level, you're like learning how to do the combat, and you're pretty good. You're figuring it out. You're like good there. Then you get to that boss fight, and you're like, oh okay, this is a challenge. You
Mhm.
get to the second level, and it's like, oh, now you in it. So
Mhm.
it's very easy just to like you have to restart and go through it again. And there's a part
Sifu
right now
isn't
that
Sifu one of those games where you probably don't want to take too many breaks in between because you want to keep your skill up a little bit. You want to
yeah,
be fresh.
you do.
Yeah.
Now I will say, as long as you're kind of playing intense reaction based games,
Yeah.
you should kind of be fine
Mhm.
in terms of like keeping up that skill level because it's just about reacting and parrying like correctly. Uh at least as of now. But I will say, you know, it is a fun game. A nice one to like. It's a very easy one to like. If you need to warm yourself up before you're about to really dive into another game.
Mhm.
Spending a good like 30 minutes, an hour on this one, like trying to go through the level again and then bouncing the other game is good. But it was good. I also checked out Helldivers 2.
Okay.
Finally, I co-op that with my bro Patrick. That was fun. It's very mission oriented.
You just like name dropped them. But go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, he's fine. He knows. He's mission oriented. Uh, I mean, you're not gonna find him off his name. He's
You
fine.
still thinking about it? Yeah. Relax. It's cool. Relax. Relax. It's all
But
right. I just thought it was funny because I was just like, you just said it. That's all right. Go ahead.
he'll like
Go
the
ahead.
shout out. But yeah, as you go through, it's mission oriented. It's basically like here, like go fix this thing. And as you go to do it, there's gonna be swarms of bugs. So it does
Okay.
the swarming very well. It's your normal swarm games like Alien Fire Team Elite or
Mhm.
World War Z, like that type of thing. So there's gonna be the swarm, but this time it's just like bugs, and it's just funny. The humor is kind of funny. The shooting feels satisfying. there's these like stratagems that you use as like little specialty stuff. So like I can like summon a heavy machine gun with so much ammo, or summon ammo backups, or like a giant like orbital strike, or things like that. But you kind of gotta like manage doing that while avoiding getting hit and everything like that. So it's pretty good. It's a fun game, very like intense. Oh, I definitely suggest it.
Okay.
I've also played Quidditch Champions, the free PS Plus game that came out this
Okay.
month. The thing that Harry Potter was missing, the Quidditch game, and it
Yeah.
feels like honestly, this is like all that really needed to be added to a sequel for Harry Potter for it to feel like a whole new game. It is pretty fun. You learn your different roles for Quidditch. They changed some of the rules. Now I will call this out. There's a lot of articles that are calling out the fact that in the game or in the like show movie, and lore and everything, that if you grab that golden stitch thing, the little ball, then you
Hmm.
get like 500 points, and it's like an absurd amount of points. So they're like, why actually play the game if someone like you lose because somebody grabbed this golden ball in the parking lot?
Yeah,
Now,
every movie has always portrayed it like it was an instant win.
here's the
Every movie
thing
that they
though.
did it.
When you think it's weird because in the movies, like, it's just instant win. But when you really think about it outside of that context, that thing is supposed to be relatively impossible to grab. It's like
Hmm.
really fast. It's like the size of like a $50 coin, and it
Yeah.
can be anywhere, right? So while people are like playing, while you're getting attacked, while you gotta dodge stuff, this thing is just flying around and could fly anywhere. Like it could just fly under the bleachers, and now you just can't get it because you're not small enough, right?
Uh,
Like there's no room. Like so that's the whole point. Is like it's weird that the movies always did this because they just treat Harry special, but it's supposed to be like this thing is very rarely ever caught.
yeah.
And then like the one time it is caught, it's of course like, oh shoot, like they caught it. No wonder they won and everything because it's supposed to be a very lucky thing, not a every game thing. Now, because it's part of the mechanics for this game, where like you have a person specifically going after it and it stays on the field and blah blah blah. The way they did that was catching the snitch is worth 3 points.
Hmm.
And like throwing the ball through the hoop is worth 1 point. But then like if you catch the golden snitch, like the timer like stops for a second, that team gets 3 points, and then it like resets for like throwing the ball back in. And every few minutes, the golden snitch will fly out, and then that's when your designated player for that can enter the game and fly in trying to find and grab the golden snitch before the other person. Um, so it's like you have a designated person to do that and everything, and they're only in the game for like short amount of time trying to get the
Mm.
golden stitch. So it's very easy to like get enough points to where it doesn't really matter. But the game is done very well. It's fun.
Okay.
And then one more. Finally, I played some Astro Bot. I got that day one,
Okay.
like right away. I didn't know it was a physical release. So like I
Yeah.
was the whole time planning to get it digital until I saw that it was physical. So like the day of, I just drove to a GameStop. I was like, "Do y'all have Astrobot?" And they were like, "Yeah, we got one more copy." It's like a popular game. So I was like, "Cool, I'll take the last copy." Uh, this thing is like a love letter to PlayStation, like just like the other
Hmm.
one, and it's just a solid platformer. It's just fun. Um, but as you play it, you do some to kind of realize, like I don't even recognize some of the characters that you get, but like you start to realize it's like, yo, PlayStation, like y'all have a lot of like IPs you could just use and don't.
I
Like
mean,
that's what you get things like when you see like Concord fail after 2 weeks and everything, yet there's no Bloodborne 2. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like it's like
hmm.
there's all these IPs that you could really be like using, and this game reminds you of so many things. Um and then it's just like, well, but they're not using it. But I heard that the game's gonna have some free like updates and DLC and stuff that'll introduce even more characters. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I haven't gotten it yet. I think I am. I'm definitely scheduling myself to play it in December around Christmas time. Because I think that's when I played Playroom. From the PS5 demo. But yeah, that's high on my list as one of the games I'm gonna play before the year is over. Right at the very end of the year. But I didn't buy it yet. I think I'm gonna probably get it maybe right after Black Friday around that same time.
Okay.
Because the games I've been playing, I kind of shoehorned the Black Myth Wukong in there, but I haven't had as much time to consistently play. I'm going to try to spend more time with it now. And then I'm going to get back to the two main games I was playing, which was Bloodborne and Persona 4 Golden. I've been on those games really for a long time just because I take breaks during the work week. But I'm
You
working
should
through my schedule for it now, and I'm going to introduce a few games from the handheld, and I'll talk about that later. But what were you going to say?
okay. You just reminded me. I've also been playing Persona 5 Tactica. Like I've been playing too many games. I just started popping
Okay.
a new one to play. That one, I mean, it's just great. If you like Persona 5, this game is great. They take it to where now it's strategic. Like it's you have to position around the field, turn base, like the grid sort of like RPG style of game. Um, that one's also done really well with just of course the great music and a fun story.
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
playing a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the point where I have a solid two games that I play a month for sure, where
That's what
one
I
is a
should have
bigger
done.
long one and the other one's like probably more smaller or older or indie style. And keep that consistent, and then I would just burn through it. That's what 24 games a year technically. I
Yeah,
think that's a good flow if you're
it
gonna be
is.
full time on gaming somehow.
Fall
Um,
Guys is also good.
Cause I actually still want to incorporate YouTube in the middle of it as much as I can. With releasing videos on it, I want to be able to monetize it one day, right? But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Black Myth Wukong up front. I'm still going for Game of the Year. I do hear a lot of people are saying Astrobot is the Game of the Year. This might be the heavy two, basically.
Yeah.
As far as the big names head to header, it's a weird head to head compared to something like God of War versus Elden Ring. But hey, I still think the gamers out there should definitely just play both. They're apples and oranges, but they're just two very good games. Shout
Yeah.
out to God of War on the screen. This is supposed to be on the screen for the main topic that everybody wants to talk about, and that's going to be the big, is it a catastrophe? I don't know, but
Yes.
PS5 Pro. So let me start off by asking you, did you see the Mark Cerny like actual presentation?
No, because I saw all the absurdity of the post after and couldn't bring myself to watch it to listen to him try and advertise this.
Yeah, because a
Like
lot of things.
it
Go
felt
ahead.
insulting. So that's sorry, it's just it felt
Mm-hmm.
insulting. Where it was just like everybody's talking about this, the price. First of all, they're talking about it, and I don't think it should be existing to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
The PS5 Pro, and then you're talking about the price of it as well, and then it's like here's a 12-minute tech demonstration. I saw the images that they were trying to display, and it's like for one, also an image within an image, right? Watching a video of an image, going look at the difference. It's still gonna be but this thing shouldn't exist.
Yeah, this generation, it was one of those things where they probably had it in like on paper, like we got to make one just for the sake of making one because we always did some sort of refresh. I think the PS1 time frame was the best refresh because the PS1 did it correctly out of all of them to me. I think the PS2 did too. The PS3's one like really saved the PS3 because the main thing about the refresh there was that they cut the price in half. But with the PS1 and the PS2, they just made a really slim version of it like at the end of the generation. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody had it and it was just fine. Then all of a sudden, hey, here's a PS2 Slim and here's a PS1. Like they were calling it the PS1 on the first one, where beforehand it was like the PlayStation 1. And the Slim model came with that little screen, and that was like a really cool thing at that time. But when you fast forward to now, the PS5 in general was almost one of those systems that was almost unnecessary in itself. And that might sound weird to say, but it's like the main heavy hitters were all sequel games that were built for the PS4, and they were like presented to the PS5. Like even with this game here, God of War Ragnarok, it came out and was a PS4 game in the beginning. Horizon, Last of Us, obviously was another one. And when they showed this tech demonstration, like it reminded me of when they were showing the PS5 initially. And what's so ironic about it was when they showed the PS5, they did the same thing where they was just like, here's all these PS4 games, and look, everything's at 60 FPS now. Everything is loading faster now. And it's a little absurd where they're trying to do it again when the elephant in the room was, well, I thought this other machine was already doing that or was supposed to be doing it. And this demo, or not demo, or demonstration, yeah, it was a demonstration. It was actually probably, in my opinion, one of the worst things they've ever done. Because the absurdity of what Mark Cerny was saying, I don't even know if he understood, or somebody, whoever was in like PR or something. I don't know if they need to fire Mark Cerny. That would seem kind of crazy if they did. He's a very valuable person to that company. Whoever wrote his script, though, somebody got to take the bullet. Like, for real, because we've seen some higher ups like take a leave from both companies, even though they don't want to admit it and stuff. We were talking about it in the past. Somebody got to take the bullet for that one, though. And they probably are. Because the things that Mark Cerny was saying was so absurd to me. Because it's one thing for you to like want to push the PS5 Pro. It's another thing for you to try to sell to the audience that the PlayStation 5 is not good enough, when that's the machine that you've sold this entire time for 3-4 years now, right? They are, at one point they were showing the Spider-Man 2 game, and they literally had Mark Cerny telling you that this game runs on at 30 FPS on the PS5 and is sometimes choppy. That was the term he said. He said it's choppy when you're playing Spider-Man 2. And I was just like, the absurdity of that, when that was supposed to be a PS5. Is currently right now a PS5 exclusive. That's one of the one games that did not have a PS4 port. And he sat there and said it was choppy, and it's at 30 FPS in certain games. He was mentioning like showing Last of Us Part 2 again, like the absurdity of that. Because that was the thing that they used for the PS5. You know what I mean? They were using the regular PS5 for some of these games, and you're showing it and you're doing things like zooming into the crowd. Like Ratchet and Clank was a game that they used to sell the first PS5, where they're telling you this game is so one of a kind because of this like portal jumping through screen that they did, that we found out after the game came out that it was really a cutscene, but they did it, and it was transitioning back and forth to where you can go through the worlds at some point, which looked pretty cool on paper, but they were telling you you could not do this on any other machine because of the SSD and the PS5. And then you turn back around, you show this game, and now you're telling everybody like it doesn't look as good when you're on the PS5 anymore. And it's like, if you was to go back and look at any footage from 2020 and 2021, like they were singing a different tune about the exact same games. That's the thing that's crazy about it. Yep. It's the exact same games. And then now they're telling you the PS5 is not good enough. And it's actually, they're literally telling you it's 30 FPS. And that was the part that was crazy to me, because I'm one of the original buyers. I had the one where on the box they put 8K. They literally put
8K, 60.
Yeah, frames. 4K 120. That's what they said. 4K 120. They put that on the screen or on the box. And they're kind of moonwalking on that. I heard that with the slim PS5s, They don't even have that on the box no more. And the way that they're going about it now is they called it the big three, or Mark Cerny called it the big three. And it was like a larger GPU, and not only that, AI upscaling ray tracing, I think. And no, AI driven upscaling, and then advanced ray tracing was the other thing. That's what they call it, the big three. Side note, real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to Black Myth Wukong is on the screen. I remember saying last week I wasn't going to be able to show it. This week is actually proper footage from my PC, so it looks a lot better. I don't think it's still converted over correctly because it was higher than 60 frames, but this video clip is in 60 frames for this podcast. So I'm gonna try to get more footage, but I don't have to just like not show it anymore. But yeah, it's back. So more Black Myth Wukong in the future. I'm glad I was able to figure that out. But this is all on the 4090 PC. But anyways, yeah. They chose this time to not use the term 8K, right? They didn't really use 4K that much, but they made some reference to it. But they were making more reference to the frame rate. And the thing is, they're promising with this machine 4K and 60 FPS at the same time, instead of you choosing back and forth. I remember before I was saying that I didn't like choosing back before. Because who wants to choose between performance and fidelity like in real life? You don't want to choose. You want it to have its best performance. Mm-hmm. Like this footage being like, this footage right now has ray tracing on. You see shadows everywhere, right? I didn't have to choose in my settings. Now, yes, this is a $4,000 computer, basically. I didn't have to choose, though. But that's what you would want from the thing. Like, imagine I spent that kind of money with the PS5, and the PS5 promised this stuff on the box, but Black Myth Wukong looked like last week's episode, basically, right? Yep. Like that's the thing that's crazy to me. It's like that's what they were doing, but I didn't talk too much. Tell me some more, if anything else you want to say about it, and I'll go into some more details in a second.
I don't know how many times I gotta say this. The current games can't even handle the system. Like, the devs can't even make a game that utilizes the system. Like, as of now, the only game that has utilized the excessiveness of like the DualSense controllers is Astrobot. Even last generation, there was like only 2 games that really used that PS4 controller, and that was Infamous Second Son and that Concrete Genie, I believe. Like, they're not even building the games to fully utilize what the systems can do.
Yeah, that actually reminds me, because I remember the PS4 had the speaker on the controller, and I do remember barely using it. Yeah. Like, it was barely used, you know. There was like the first what's that game called? Tomb Raider. The first Tomb Raider 2016, I believe. Like, the PS5 had a very interesting control for it that I think was very unique, because I played it on PS5 when I first got the PS5. It had the ability to like if you said certain phrases out loud, the character would change weapon. Like, I could say bow, and she would pull out the bow. If I said gun, she would pull out the gun. I thought that was unique. And like, that was something that I don't think you could do when the game first came out with the older systems. But barely anybody else really utilized the controller itself, you know. And even on the PS4, when we're talking about like first parties exclusives, I don't remember too many of them actually using the speaker on the controller, to be honest with you. Not very many. I know in the Batman game Arkham City, they utilize the speaker at certain points on the PS4.
Yep. It'll be like some background talking or things like that.
Yeah. Now, even though a lot of us are used to using like the headphones or whatever, it's like even then, there were still times where I didn't, and I don't remember anybody
Oh,
using it.
Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Whenever you're on a mission, Trunks communicates with you through the controller.
Okay.
Like when he sends you out on a mission, I remember even when I had the headphones in, he was talking through the controller speaker. Like, you need to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The thing is, just, but overall, it's like, we've seen how many games, like, they can't even release a game that just works. Like, on day one, right?
Yeah.
Like, there has to be, even the games that are like, let's give it up for Astrobot, it still had a day one patch. Like, everything always has to have, like, a day one patch. They can't even make it to where it works. And now you're telling me, hey, we're going to build this even better, supposedly, machine, where it was like, you couldn't even do the stuff on the last one. Like, what came out that was 4K? And it was like ray tracing. Like, again, it was promised on the box. And now it's almost the same way they do Madden every year, where they keep advertising Field Sense. Or it's like, you change the name of it, but it's still Field Sense. And that's what you said for the last one. You were like, it's going to be physics-based tackling where people are actually playing like they would in the real games, and the computer's making those type of decisions. And then the following year, it's like, here's what we did differently, the same thing. And it's like, that's what's happening here. And it's like, I don't there's not even enough games out to even justify everybody getting an upgrade to the Pro, right? Like, every time I saw the Pro for other stuff, it was always like, okay, there's the new one that came out had more memory in it, can run a little bit faster, and there was like a new type of TV out. So like 1080 was the one thing. Then they started releasing 1440, so it's like, well, now the new system can do 1440, right? Where most people still have a 1080 TV, so it's not going to make that big of a difference. There's only people who are up extra tech, but you'll have the more memory and the faster processor.
That was another thing
is
too.
it supposed to be faster? And like, how much faster can it get? On top of like, before like the games still need to load to a degree, so it can't get faster. And okay, more memory, cool.
There wasn't really that much. I don't think they mentioned anything about like 1440p support at all or anything. Like, you would think they would have some mode where it's like 1440p and 120 frames. They barely even went there with the 120. They were just promising a solid 60. Yep. But what's crazy is they have been promising that 60 this entire time, though.
Yeah, and it's almost like saying, here's this, like, this is the thing, we promise you we can do 60, and then afterwards, hey, it turns out it can't, but buy our new one. The new one will for sure do it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, too, because this might be the first time in history where we've seen a retail release of a system that basically has the scalper price from a few years before, because it's $699. And what's really crazy too with that, we've heard so many times where people blame the bad part of the PS3 being its $600 price. And so this is something that Sony is definitely aware of. And I think I said this in my other video. I'm going to say it again right here. This basically tells me that PlayStation, from the PS3 time when this happened initially in 2006 to now, they have not changed. They did a very good job of hiding their intentions in the PS4 generation, but they have every intentions on doing the same thing they did then, which is try to make as much money as they can, squeezing out as much of the dollar out of the customer that they can. Because this might be still the most egregious thing I've ever seen, because at least with the PS3, at the very least, it was an all-in-one machine, and it still was fully backwards compatible at the time. Where this machine here
doesn't even have the disk drives.
Yeah, the disk drive is not there. That thing is still not even available. Why? Like in the stores and stuff. That's something you got to get directly from them, and it's $80 for that disk drive. And I believe the stand is also sold separately. So if you got the disk drive, the stand, and this machine, you're upwards of like $800 and some change because of taxes and everything. If you
You hit
slap
like
on,
820.
yeah, you slap on a controller, a game, or some plates or something, and then you're really in a $900 range. And also, I've seen some videos, people doing some bookkeeping and conversions and stuff, and they found out that if you're in some of these other areas that's like really obscured, really not anywhere near the American area, it could cost you almost up to $1,000 basically from how much more they charge some of these other areas. So it's like for some of these people, you're literally in the PC price range, and it makes no sense for you to even give it
Right.
to Sony. It makes more sense for you to just build your own machine where you have full control. You know,
Especially because there's still these games that they're advertising as all the stuff you can do. They're
yeah,
still going to be putting them on PC. So it's like it's
yeah,
almost like everything they're doing is saying, "Go to PC. Why are you still here?"
yeah. That brings me to the next point because I think a lot of people was pointing out that PlayStation might be banking on this being the official Grand Theft Auto 6 device because we all know
Uh,
that when GTA 6 comes out, it's not going to be available on PC day one. We don't know how much longer it's going to take to be on PC, but really, it looks like the best way to play, quote unquote, would be the PS5 Pro because it's supposed to be on paper the best machine. Is now considered spec wise to be slightly more superior to the Series X. The Series X, I think the $600 model that they did was also digital, I think, and it had 2 terabytes. Where this one is digital, and now it's supposed to have 2 terabytes of storage, and it's $100 even more. They're saying, hey, it's got a couple of these extra things going on, and it's really hurting them, and it's unfortunate that we have to have this kind of situation again with them because to me, like I just said, it basically reminds me that they didn't change back there. They've been the same, and that lets you know like the behavior for them, they're the same like, and they're never going to change. So going forward, even if you get back into your good graces, you have to know in the back of your head that they really just want as much money as they can get from you. And
yep.
this system isn't for the gamer. I think I did say that before too. This was clearly designed to money hat. It's almost like a free to play game. This is a free to play system basically. You got to buy each piece. You know, and it's not even free, right? It's just the structure of it is like that. You don't get the whole thing in one go. And when you
The first
really
ever live service system.
when you really look at this, everything about it screams just get a PC because like you had to unscrew the thing and put a memory on it to begin with, and you had to buy the heat sink, and then the companies that started getting smart and started selling some of the M.2 cards that you would put in with the heat sink and stuff because they wanted to make it easier for you so you can pay for it. But those things was already pushing like $200 for those SSDs. And I remember being very upset with PlayStation and also Microsoft when I found out they weren't even giving you, you know, a full 2 terabytes of storage from the get-go because I felt like it made sense to be 2 terabytes. But I remember when the PlayStation gave you this weird random 800 gig like space. It was like a really arbitrary number. Wasn't it like 825 or 875 gigs or something? It was just like, why is it not a full terabyte? Like it should have just been like, it was just so weird. I was just like, yo, you really can't eat that cost at all. And it's like, no, they can't. And this is also a part of it. Like, I do think Concord possibly could have had something to do with it. Probably more factions and some of the stuff going on with Bungie and other things where I think they just really wanted to make the extra money for some of the games and stuff that they were canceling recently. And the way to do it is to make this an extra $100. And I do have to throw some bones towards Xbox a little bit because I feel like with some of their most recent decisions, it puts PlayStation in a type of mindset where they feel like they could do whatever they want, and they think they can get away with whatever they want because their competition is giving their games away. You're talking about the rumors for the past year, 2 years was some of the best games from Xbox going to PlayStation, right? And then if they come out with a machine that's slightly even better as a console in itself, it makes people say, well, what's the point really to get an Xbox at all when you're not even the best in the console as far as specs, and then you can just do a PC that's even better. So like from the player's perspective, I can see some of the thought process of I don't need an Xbox at all. But when you jump to the company's perspective, it looks like to me that this is a result of that, where they're saying we're gonna be the definitive system and you're gonna pay us no matter what. And I think that's their mindset. I really think that's their mindset right now. Even Nintendo, I don't think Nintendo is going to challenge them in this type of regard. I really would like for Nintendo to have a much better Switch 2, but I really think at the end of the day, they might not even go there. They might just be like, well, we'll just lawyer up and sue whoever tries to steal our games. But we're not going to go there, unfortunately. And it's a shame because that makes PlayStation thinks they're a monopoly right now. They absolutely think they're a monopoly. They feel like they can do whatever they want, to the point where it's just like, well, we'll snatch a game back if we think we're not going to make money off of it, and we'll give you collector edition games with no actual disc. Right? There's a whole bunch of that was going on. And then here's the system with no disc drive. But even when you get it, it's like, now I got to screw this thing on, right? Now I got to take off the back of it and put another SSD card in it. I got to put on my own plates to like decorate it and stuff. I got to do all these things. I got to update the firmware too to match that it's not a digital machine anymore. It's a disc machine. It's like, yo, that's all of that sounds like PC stuff to me. That sounds like PC stuff. You know, because we just got done talking about how they don't want to keep that many games in the store anymore. It makes no sense to me that a place like GameStop, of all places, could tell you they got one copy left of Astrobot. They have one copy left on the day of release.
Day of release, I walked in, and it wasn't even like super late. Day of release, I walked in at 1 p.m. It was 1 p.m. and they were like, yeah it's the last copy.
Yeah, but like they tell me, how many people was even in there? When you walked in there?
Not even, to be honest, it's not even that popular of a spot.
Yeah,
like, that I went to. Like it's one of those like little mini malls where like there's a bunch around, but there's like other GameStops in the area as well. And I don't like this one. I even forgot that there was a GameStop in this little mini mart, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this was here. Like, I walked in, they had the one worker in the store. I walked in, the place was empty. 1 p.m. and it's in an area with a lot more like older people, and they're just like, yeah, no, one copy left.
Yeah, I think that's crazy, because back in the day you would have people just walking all through the store looking at stuff. They're looking at manuals, they're looking at everything on the like displays and stuff, and like some of the games are the hottest games, and you got people at the register and they're typing away because they're trying to check out so many people. It's like it's nowhere near like that anymore. But it's absurd to me that you got like one copy or two copies left, and this game is brand new and it's the middle of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like there's been times I've gone to a GameStop too where they didn't even want to sell me on like, which is, we'll get to my GameStop story later. But like it's just kind of like it's crazy that this is where PlayStation is, because it's almost like in the industry in general, we don't have enough good stories, but we got plenty of bad stories or like reports or whatever, right? So like the bad report for PlayStation was Concord, but Astro was almost supposed to like wipe that out completely, right? It was like for as bad as Concord was, Astro would be as good. And I was like, all right, we got a good game at least immediately. But then you have this, you follow that up with bad again. And it's like, yo, like, You know what I'm saying? Like, I would scratch my head at Xbox every now and then as well when they have this situation where it's like, you did good, but then you screwed up. Like
Uh-huh.
that show was very good, and then right after that, it was just like all this mess with the multi-plat stuff. But like, with PlayStation, it's just like this is so unnecessary. It's kind of crazy, but there will be the 5 to 10% people who's going to buy this. This is definitely not for everybody anyway. It's one of those things where when we were talking about the Rogue Ally, and the Rogue Ally X, I recommended the X if you did not already have a Rogue Ally.
Uh-huh.
And then it makes sense to say like, well, do not get the Pro if you already have a PS5. But I honestly think that I can't even recommend the PS5 Pro even if you
No.
didn't have a PS5.
No, no, no.
Because the main thing about it is it's not all in one. If I bought it, I'm still missing something. I feel like I'm missing something. Anybody who's upgrading, like imagine if the disk drive sells out. You really want this. You have a certain amount of physical games and you don't want to get rid of that. So you want to buy it and you do want to buy the disk drive, but you can't because one thing is available and the other part isn't. Like how absurd would that be? And we've been in that situation now with certain
Absolutely.
products with PlayStation where at one point you couldn't even get the charger for the controller. You couldn't get the little
Uh,
stupid the remote and stuff. You couldn't get the headphones and stuff. And then like you had to fight the internet with the first PlayStation 5 for like however long. There were some people who definitely was scalping at a certain level, and I think they looked at the scalper numbers when they were considering this. I think they absolutely was like, you know what,
oh
all
yeah.
these people who was on eBay, they'll do it again, but this time they'll give it directly to us. They was already doing 700, 800. You know what
Yup.
I'm saying? Somebody like I looked at that detachable disk drive a little weird the first time around with the Slim, because a part of me thought that it was gonna have something to do with the Pro as well, but I just didn't really think about it that much. But I do remember even with the podcast like many episodes ago, saying that both systems were going or both companies were going to introduce a mid-gen where it was all digital because they want to soft like prepare you for the next generation where they just full-fledged say it's all digital from here on out, and that will be the end of physical media, at least for two companies, because I don't think Nintendo is going to do it. I think Nintendo is going to take advantage of keeping it the way it is. It's just their system is still going to be underpowered to an extent, right? um Fast forward to now, they kind of did that. Kind of, it's not 100% no disc. There's still a way for you to get the disc. Even with
Uh-huh.
the Series X, there's still the regular Series X, right? It's just I don't know who is in the market for a $600 Series X and a $700 PS5 Pro. I'm not really sure who's in the market for it because there are better options. Technically, my computer I have right now is a better option. I think for a lot of people, you can hop on Newegg, you can hop on probably even Best Buy and find you a PC that's going to be a better option. You're not going
Yup.
to find it probably at $700 or $800. I can understand that. You're not, but the biggest part about it is it comes with the freedom. It comes with the ability to do emulation on a high level. It comes with the ability to do modding on a high level, and then there's nobody really taking the game from you on a location like Steam or something like Epic Games that
Uh,
we're going to get to in a second.
or which ties into real quick. I can just throw the story in here that you just mentioned that.
Yeah,
Uh when you start doing the all digital stuff, the what is it, itch.io, the ITCH
yeah,
.io.
hmm
There was a game on there called Oxenfree. It's on a few other ones as well, but
hmm
specifically on ITCH, all people who own this game, it was like a visual novel,
yeah,
got an email saying that it'll no longer be available on itch, and that if you own the game, like if you had to pay for it, and if you paid and you own this game,
Yeah.
You need to download it before October 1st. You have to have it downloaded. As long as it's downloaded, you're good. But after that, it's going to be removed from libraries. And you won't be able to download it, so you no longer get to own it. Even though you paid for it and it's in your digital library, if you don't have it on your physical system, or let's say you get a new one, it's gone. You don't get to download it anymore. It's gone forever.
Yeah, that's silly. This the way
$800 to borrow games.
Yeah,
System is wild.
I think it's just kind of crazy to me that the companies feel like they can just boldly do this, because PlayStation can probably open admit that the first time they did something this crazy with the PS3, that it did hurt them. And you would think that they would know that and understand that. And this is actually something you can't blame this on Jim Ryan, right? This is not a Jim Ryan thing. You've got to blame Sony. You have to blame whoever that is. Somebody back there, the powers that be, allowed this to happen. And they're going to pay for it, but they're not going to tell you out loud, because the sales are going to be, they're just going to say, hey, it's PS5 sales. We found out that they were even counting the portable or the Portal as a PS5 sale as well. That's kind of crazy, because the PS5 experience now is almost up $2,000, because you got to get if you get a Pro, you also got to get the VR system, the VR2, and the Portal, and like the Edge, and like once you get all this stuff, you up $2,000, but there's no new games. There's like a few games here and there, but like when we're looking at it, it's like a couple a year, maybe. There's always a big gap in between. It always feels like there's gaps in between, right? And it's like you're paying for so much hardware. It gets into one of my other topics that's going to be coming up after the break. The Ambernic device, right, which is the emulation device. It seems like they come out with a new one every couple of months. Like, even though there was some time in between for game systems and stuff, it feels like we have more systems than we do games. And it may not be 100% PlayStation's fault, but I think the industry is looking, they're in the wrong direction right now. Because if you really look at just the handheld market in itself, it was like so many different handhelds, and not even emulation, but the Lenovo Go, right? Legion Go, the Steam Deck, the Rogue Ally, the upgrades to the Steam Deck, the upgrades to the Rogue Ally. The Switch had the OLED that didn't really do too much, but just be an OLED, right? And then you had a white and a black Series S, a black and a sparkling black, and a white Xbox Series X. And then you have, here's this PlayStation. We had a whole VR system that almost was abandoned as soon as it went out, coming from first party with the PS5 or the PS or PlayStation, and then they introduced the Pro controller, and it's like, for what? What is the Pro controller for at this point?
Yeah.
What is the Pro controller for? Like, it's just kind of crazy. But that's where we're at with it. I don't know, whenever it would have been harder for them to probably put out a PS5 Pro at any other time, because you just would have been eating close to the end of the generation for it. It is what it is. But if you are somebody who really wants this, it's available for pre-order at September 26, 2024. It is launching this holiday, or right before the holiday, November 7, 2024. Do not expect this to go down during Black Friday. This is clearly a premium product right now. You'll be better off waiting next year, but even then, it's like, what are they going to bring it to? $675 or something? It's like, is it really going to be a sale? You still got to buy. I don't think you're ever going to see a discount on the disc drive by itself, ever. No. And the stand, I mean, come on, bro. You're paying for the stand. It's just, it's so crazy. I feel bad for the people who really couldn't fight through the bots to get the very first system, because the first system, like, it had the stand, you screwed it in one time, and that was it. Yep. Yeah. I don't know how much more I can say, but I can just say I am very disappointed. I'm definitely disappointed with that presentation. To tell everybody out there that your PS5 is running the hottest games on the system at 30 FPS and it looks choppy, it looks slow. We're really using these kind of terms to sell you on the PS5 Pro. Somebody over there's head got to roll. I don't know if it has to be Mark Cerny directly, because I almost feel like he didn't want to say that. I don't know if he... Cerny looks like a serial killer. He looked really, really scary sometimes. I ain't gonna hold you up. He looked like a diabolical villain sometimes. I don't know if he really was the mouthpiece behind this, or if he was reading the script. Whoever, like, because you know how, like, with commercials and stuff, they gotta go through like 2 or 3 levels of like PR and like lawyers and stuff, making sure you say everything correct. It's like, did it not cross anybody's mind to not call the PS5 slow and choppy 30 FPS machine when just 3 or 4 years ago you was telling us it was the fastest thing ever because of the SSD? It was like that was so stupid. It's so stupid. I don't care if it's gonna be the GTA 6 machine. I don't know what that even means, because GTA 6 is still gonna be on the Series X. It will be on the PC eventually. I don't know. It's never gonna take that much longer. They want their money. They want to be able to have the main people who keep buying all these shark cards and stuff is coming from the PC side. It's like they're not gonna have the PS5 Pro be the only way to get the best version of the GTA 6. Like, that's to have this bank on Rockstar seems insane in itself. That lets you know, like, because too many people were saying that. That also lets you know that none of the other games that they have, they're not even really confident with those games. If you're banking on it being Grand Theft Auto 6. You would think for a game like Wolverine to be completely leaked out there, that's the game that you would showcase, even though it would be bold. But that would have been the game where you could say it's going to look and play best on the PS5 Pro, but you wouldn't call the PS5 slow and choppy. That was just crazy to me.
Yep.
Slow and choppy. All right, well, I will have my fun with that slow and choppy machine. I have no intentions on buying this. It could be as slow and choppy as it needs to be, but I'll still have my fun with it. I'm gonna have my fun with my supercomputer and every little thing else I buy. But I don't see too much value in this. I'm not gonna make fun of anybody for getting it or anything. If you really want it, go ahead and play it. More power to you. It's unfortunate that we are in this gaming space right now where their developers aren't going to really benefit from this, because they'll sit there and they're still going to fire everybody after they get done with this. It's kind of crazy, but we didn't spend way too long on it. That's okay. Anything else you want to say on the PS5 Pro before we move into the other stuff?
Do better. Don't get this thing. Get a PC. As a PlayStation player, get a PC.
Yeah, I never really thought I would be that guy to say that and really bank on that. Like, a lot of the footage that we're showing is actually on the regular PS5 with the exception of Black Myth. But it's like, even with Remnant 2 right now, you can see the shadows of the trees is not anywhere near as a dynamic as what Black Myth was looking like. But it doesn't have to look like that in order to be fun. We had just a good enough time playing this on the regular PS5. We had just as much fun playing the first one on PS4. We don't necessarily need to keep upgrading. And the thing was so silly about it, this is the last thing I'm going to say before we move on. With Ratchet and Clank especially, they were zooming in on like the crowd at one point at the very beginning of the game, because you start the game in like a stadium or something. There's a whole bunch of people cheering for Ratchet like he's a superstar, and they would stop and like zoom in on the game. Like, at what point is you stopping zooming in the background trying to see if you could see the details of like this one individual standing somewhere?
Bruh.
You just playing the game. Like, right now, Even on screen, when I back out of this menu, there's somebody who's standing around like way far away. Nowhere have I ever thought I needed to zoom in. I need to go back to old footage and zoom in to see if they pixelated or not. Ain't nobody doing that. You looking right in front of you, and you just playing the game.
Yep.
There's way too much emphasis on graphics, not enough on gameplay. Like I heard somebody say this on somebody's podcast or something. They were talking about this. We need more pro developers. We need less pro machines.
Yeah.
We need way more pro developers. Somebody who can handle a system, who can actually develop for a system. The game comes out, is actually good, is not jank. You don't have to shut them down after a month or after 2 weeks or something. They put out a solid release and it's a banger. That's what we need. We need a lot more pro developers. We don't need anybody over here where all of a sudden we got to keep, pushing things back 10, 15 years or something. What happens to the PS5 Pro if it's supposed to be the GTA 6 machine if they announce that GTA 6 needs to be pushed back? It's inevitable. Everything else needs to be pushed back. This thing is coming out right now in November. GTA 6 ain't coming out in November. If they pushed it back like 6 months, literally 6 months, it'll probably the PS5 Pro will be dead if you can't come out. Where's Wolverine?
Right.
You like I didn't understand. I don't understand. Like you would have been better off announcing this a week before and pushing back Astrobot to November to make it make sense. It was like did anybody who's playing Astrobot right now really care about not playing it until they get the PS5 Pro? Is it really that? Is it slow? Is it choppy? Is it 30 FPS? Is it just that bad now? It's like you still want people to buy Astrobot. It's silly. We can move on. It is what it is. Happy gaming to anybody. I'm not gonna fault anybody if they get it. If you get it, I would like for you to enjoy it. Enjoy gaming at the end of the day. Just be careful with how you spend money, because I do feel like we're kind of at the point in general where maybe we as the consumer might just need to say we don't need to consume as much. We need to focus a lot more on quality over quantity. We're seeing a lot more quantity in the hardware, not enough quality in the software. That's
Correct.
the problem that we have right now. But hey, we can move on. We're going to get into some fun segments because I have some quality and some quantity, but it's all free. And that's what we're going to get into right now. So we're going to move on to the next segment. Everybody loves free. You cannot complain when it comes to free. And I think you will really, really enjoy a lot of free stuff if you just really take the time to check it out. It's not going to cost you $600 or $700, but it may cost you just a few minutes to set up a profile for one of the things that's offering you something free. That's Epic Games. I always talk about Epic Games in the middle of the show. We're actually a lot further on in the show, but that's okay. Epic Games gave away a brand new game, actually. I'm finding out this is new. Blast from the Past, we talked about it for a second last week, but Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. Very, very popular franchise from the early 90s. That's why I say Blast from the Past. But they are offering this game right now. As of this recording, you can go and basically claim this game on your profile. It's available until September 19th. Not only that, the game Super Crazy Rhythm Castle is also available until September 19th. 2 free games that's available right now that you can go get. The next game I think was shown in a showcase on Nintendo. I remember writing it down and talking about it a long time ago. It's a game called Tolem, I believe. It might have been a Nintendo timed exclusive initially, and then it moved on to PC and maybe some other platforms. And so from September 19th to September 26th, you can go get that game for free. Under Epic Games, just create the profile. Like I've said plenty times before, You don't need to have a payment account. You just need a profile. Put your game tag on there, and claim all these games. The next one is The Last Stand Aftermath. I don't know too much about it. Go find out. Go find out when you claim it. That's again available from September 19th to September 26th. Now that's just Epic Games. I do have a interesting treat coming from Steam, and this may or may not have been, named after a very popular game right now. It might be a little controversial, but who knows? Maybe the developer was looking at Elden Ring the same way they looked at, or maybe looking at how do I want to say this? They were looking at their game the way that the other developer that made Elder Souls was looking at Elden Ring, because their name is a little head scratcher, and the gameplay is too. But there's a free game out there right now. It's a roguelike slasher, and it's top down, and the game is called Black Myth Heaven. I don't know if they may have had some inspirations, but you play as a creature, a creature out there, a person or something, from a top-down perspective, and it's a little bit roguelike. You slashing away. Apparently, this was available as early as August 23rd, 2024. It's fairly new. It came out around the same time as another game that has a very similar title, but who knows if that was planned or not? If somebody was trying to leech off of the hype of the other game, but who knows? That name does sound kind of familiar. I don't know, but it's free, and that is under Steam. So make sure you have your Steam account, and you can add this on there. But yeah, that's the other free game. I do also want to mention a couple highlights before I get into my next segment. There was a story that I forgot to mention. I want to say almost 2 months now. 2 months ago, probably. So Dolphin Emulator, anybody remembers that emulator? The one Nintendo despises the most. Apparently that had an update where the emulator itself had an update to also involve achievements. Very interesting enough. If everybody is hip to the game, you know that this emulator is known for emulating the Wii and the GameCube simultaneously. You could have both files of those systems ROMs in that emulator. But now you can turn it on and set it up where it gives you achievements. I'm pretty sure it's a fan kind of thing as far as the achievement list, but when you play your favorite ROMs and you do certain things in those games, you get achievements. I was big on the achievements on the other devices that are also emulation devices that have achievements through RetroArch. And so the Dolphin emulator has achievements as well. For anybody who's interested in that, if you're still playing those type of games, you can go back, boot up one of those old GameCube games, and get some achievements for some of the stuff that you've played on there, which I think is cool. The other thing I wanted to mention, I guess there is the real Black Myth Wukong. So it was mentioned that Black Myth Wukong will have some DLC. It should be 2 pieces of DLC, or 2 different DLCs at one point, and they're also going to be working on a sequel. The game is that successful, so expect a sequel at some point. I don't know how long we're gonna have to wait, because this game was in development for a while, and then afterwards, before that, you're gonna get some DLC for it. So that would be pretty cool. News. Go ahead.
So if you have an Amazon Prime account, doing another Prime game giveaway thing. I just claimed like 40 games. Some of them I've already had for like free stuff. Like they were giving away Borderlands 2, Borderlands the pre-sequel, Tales of the Borderlands. But then they were also giving a bunch of games through GOG and through Epic. But you have to claim it through Prime Gaming. So if you have an Amazon Prime account, They got like 40 games up there that you just go ahead and claim. If you go through GOG, you still have to also take the code, go to GOG, put in the code, and then you can copy it and or like add it to your library.
Yeah.
But you have like a whole month, or you have until like December to put in the code. But yeah, more free games.
All right. I think I got another announcement in here, but can you just talk to me about some of the games you played real quick? Because I just need to take a quick bathroom break and then I'll be right back. Just tell the people anything for like 2 minutes.
I got you.
All right.
Okay. Uh, so yeah, I guess talking more about some of the games that I've been playing. Um, let's see. We can talk about that Quidditch champions. They do a nice way of like introducing you to each of the positions for the Quidditch game. It looks like it's gonna be fun. You create a bunch of characters, or you can use the actual Harry Potter characters. Um, so that seems like it just seems like a cool game. They have the different roles that you play through, and you get to switch who you are. I'm sure if you're playing online, I haven't done that yet, but like everybody picks their role. So I'm excited to try out a game where you play as a bunch of people to go through. Oh, what else? So yeah, I had mentioned all those games that I was playing before. For the Astrobot one, uh it's just, man, that is I don't know if it's gonna be game of the year, but it is just a nice, fun game. I know some people were worried about the whole, like, I guess shorter time span on it. Like some people are saying they were able to finish it in 6 hours. Others say about like 15 hours of gameplay. There's a lot of like little secrets. So it's like certain areas you go to and it unlocks a whole little secret area that brings you to a new location. And there's like so many just little things to find. And what's nice is different levels have like a slightly different gimmick and nothing overstays its welcome. So you'll have like a short level where you're like balancing on top of some like metal ball because there's a bunch of spikes on the ground. And it's again, it's a short level. So you don't have to like be on here for like an hour. It's only going to take about like 2-3 minutes, but it's like you're trying to master these 2-3 minutes as you go through. So then you are more likely to replay it because you want to get a perfect run as you go through it, collect everything you need. Levels are short enough too where you can see what you're kind of missing and you don't feel like, oh, I really got to go back through this. Like it's short enough that you can easily go back through and try and find what you were missing without the gimmicks overstaying their welcome. So these Astrobot developers, you could tell they really cared about the gamer and really wanted to make something that was fun. I thought it was crazy that the Days Gone guy apparently was complaining because Deacon uh, appears in the game as like a little Astrobot thing. And I need this dude to like stop complaining. Like you release a broken game and you're mad at us for not buying it. You need to calm down. And I'm sorry that Sony didn't let you make a part two, but maybe if your part one worked, there wouldn't have been as much of an issue. But yeah, there's a nice love letter to a bunch of older games. I really need Sony to just
I'm back.
bring these back.
Okay.
Instead of just focusing. I was talking about how the Days Gone guy was complaining because Deacon was in Astrobot.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. That was like a mini thing that had happened that I didn't really focus on. But yeah, he's still complaining, right? Like that's crazy. After all this time, he's still complaining about it.
It's like, bro, you released the broken game. Like, why are you so mad at us?
Yeah, that's crazy. But all right, thanks for holding the fort down. I'm good to go. I'm still drinking. I was drinking a lot of water. My mouth dried out too, and I got some more water. But I can power through this real quick. But all right, we're still technically in the free game segment. There's still more free games I want to tell you about. So one more. This time we're still on Steam. I think this is more of a free to play game. The best way for me to describe this is if anybody out there is a wrestling fan and you're familiar with Mick Foley, yes, that Mick Foley, he at one point was out of wrestling completely, and he was on a show that I think was on Spike TV at the time where he was the host, and it was like people battling their random robots. You remember that show? You know what I'm talking about? Where they was like it was like like real robots. They were like on wheels, and
Yes.
I don't know the name of it, but the developers of this game took heavy inspiration from that because the game looked almost identical to where you were
Okay.
playing these obscure looking robots that had to like either push the other robot out of bounds or saw it up, beat it up, blow it up, all that type of stuff, right? So this is called Robot Rumble 2. And this is something that's brand new. It just came out September 3rd, but it's something you can go and claim under Steam. And it's kind of the same thing. You got your little robot kind of thing. Now, I do also want to mention there's no Mick Foley in the game.
Okay.
But if you one of those people who are really fancy on the PC, maybe you can mod them in the background or something. I don't know. I'll play it if you mod them in the background. That's no problem. But yeah, I want to mention that. The last thing I want to mention in this category, because I don't really have anywhere else to put it, is there was a Transformers game that was announced, and I think within the trailer they showed a little bit of gameplay. It was called Transformers Galactic Trials.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near the quality of Fall of Cybertron, War of Cybertron, but it looked like these people tried a little bit. So maybe we might see some more Transformer games coming. It's different from the Transformer game from the showcase a while back. So it seems like they're trying to do some stuff. And I do know there was a rumor at one point that War and Fall of Cybertron was going to reappear on the Xbox store and on Game Pass at one point with Activision. I don't know if that's like a fan dream rumor, but it might actually happen. But it'll be cool to see those games come back to life through a platform like Game Pass. But I would advise everybody, if you can, get your hands on a physical copy of it from the past, or just emulate it at this point. Like, you play those two games somehow. Play those two games. I have like emulated PC versions of them, and I do own 2 copies, or I own one War of Cybertron copy and one Fall of Cybertron copy for the Xbox 360.
Oh no! What happened to my PlayStation? I had PlayStation 1. Do I still have those?
Yeah, I didn't get yours. I would imagine you got them over there somewhere.
Somewhere. I got them somewhere. I have them.
Yeah, those are games. Those are classics. Those are classics. You'll never have. I don't want to say never, but we have not had Transformer games since then that were on that caliber. There was like one Transformer game that somebody made that also got delisted at some point. That was like not War or Cybertron, War or Fall of Cybertron, but it was like another one that they made like a few years later. I can't really think of it, but I did buy that physical as well. But yeah. Check out Transformers Galactic Trials and see if you might like it. It's not the Transformer game that you want, but it is a step in the right direction. Same thing like with the Power Rangers Rita Revenge. That was the other franchise that I was advocating for. That's not necessarily the Power Ranger game that I want, but it is in a step in the right direction. We want to see more from these franchises. So I'm gonna keep my eye on that game going forward. And yeah, man, we can move on. This next segment is going to be very, very short because you didn't watch it, and this thing was only 19 minutes long. It was called the Sage 2024 Showcase, a very, very niche showcase. I'm gonna just tell you right now, for the people out there, if you are a fan of Sonic, and I mean like a super fan, like you are really a super Sonic fan, this showcase was made for you. Because remember, I said I had a lot of free games here. We're still in the free games category. Because this next segment was actually a showcase that was not an official new game showcase. There were some games here that were for sale that you can find on Steam. One game in particular that I've mentioned before was called Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom. right? Cool little taxi looking game that's like you would have thought the graphics and everything that it was coming from the N64. I just liked how it looks, but almost everything else was like some version of a fan made Sonic game. And then there was like some fan made Jet Set Radio looking games. So these was like heavy Dreamcast influence here. And a lot of games were either 2D or 3D Sonics. All fan made, all free. Way more than I could have wrote down, but I wrote down a few of them that I liked. The very first one that I just wanted to mention was called Sonic Rush 3D. I think that might have been one of the best ones that I've seen. It was a 3D Sonic game where they gave you the ability to really run long distances and make you feel like you're going fast, right? Sonic's got to go fast, right? Did I mention the showcase was 20 minutes? It was 19 minutes long and some change. It was really like back-to-back, like rapid-fire fan-made stuff. I really wrote down a lot of stuff that was more traditional Sonic looking and traditional game looking, but they almost had like some games that looked like Super Smash Brothers or just a straight up 2D fighter of just Sonic, and then there was like a bunch of side scrolling ones and 3D ones. But the best ones that I like I said, was Sonic Rush 3D. The next one was called Sonic Skyfall. And then there was one that was called Sonic Battle R. These three were the best looking Sonic ones for me that I am going to try out at some point. It was all free.
Okay.
The next one also, which I think is the last one from this list, not Sonic, but it was a Jet Set Radio looking game, was called Free Skies. That was inspired by Jet Set Radio, but it's like more of like a super fantasy looking, like you skating and doing all that like skateboard type stuff, but you're doing really, really high jumps. Really, like it was almost like very exaggerated. It was looking really cool though. So it was cool for a fan made game. There were still some sprinklings of like indie titles in here as well, and titles where you could tell they wanted to just be Sonic, but they changed the names and stuff to other things because they wanted to sell their versions of their games and stuff. So it was a lot of stuff. They were showing a new game like every 20 to 30 seconds. It was just rapid fire for 20 minutes. So yes, there's some ADD TikTok style stuff going on here as well. Just a lot of stuff. But that showcase was all free. If you got a PC, a decent PC, you can go pull majority of these fan-made stuff. And they had little stuff here and there where you can support them if you wanted to, and then you can buy other games that were actually available to be purchased. But a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff here. Like I said, majority of it really was centered around Sonic. Every other game it was back to Sonic, because they had some turn-based stuff too. I was just like, how do you even do that? Like, but people are very creative. There's a big group of people who really like Sonic, and yeah, they put it out here, so I put it there. That one is not, like I said, is not an official showcase coming from like big developers, but I do appreciate some showcases coming every now and then. And if you have something that has some value, I'll shout you out every now and then. You know what I'm saying? And I'll watch your stuff. Because I want to show love to all of gaming. I don't want to just do the bandwagon topics. No matter how you want to look at it, the PS5 Pro topic is more of a bandwagon topic, but I want to showcase some real topics here and there that's outside of like the main thing. You know what I mean? For anybody that rock with us and stick around. Anything else you want to mention before I go into the last couple things?
Nah.
All right. What did you say about the game and stuff that I missed? I know you mentioned the the Days Gone stuff.
Yeah, so first I was talking about what's it called? I started talking about Astrobot still, and how it was like a love letter
Yeah.
to like a bunch of games. Oh, and that each of the levels, like I know there was a complaint. I don't know if it's gonna be like game of the year because it is still a little more niche.
Okay.
And I know there was a complaint about the whole time limit. Like like some people were like, oh, it's a 6 hour game or it's a 15 hour game. I think it's perfect at that like lower, like to be about 15 hours because there's so many secrets in each level, but no
Right.
level overstays its welcome. So like if you get to the end and you're like, oh, I missed something, you don't feel like it's a drag to go back through. Like every level is short enough that you're like willing to go back through and explore where you may have missed to go find something because you don't feel like it's like, oh my god, there's so much. Like nothing feels that way. And even there's like certain levels where, for example, there's a bunch of spikes everywhere, so you got to
Yeah.
balance on like a metal ball as you like ride through the level. But the level's only about like at most like 2 minutes, right? Like it's a
Hmm.
very quick level that you go through where you're riding through, balancing, and like, but you want to replay it because you want to get that perfect score and everything. Like nothing feels like a drag. And then each level, there's so many secrets. Like there was certain levels that like, you do like a move to like drill through the ground. It's supposed to be like a secret
Yeah.
area, but some of them, the secret area takes you to a whole another planet that unlocks. So you unlock more levels by finding secret levels as well. So there's just so much in the game. You can tell they really cared about this.
It's a lot of
Like you could,
replayability. So they were
yes,
still doing a thing where they were making a lot of reference to like the history of PlayStation, basically.
yes. This one is a little more where the first one was really like diving through like the history of like all the PlayStation devices. This one's a little more character driven, right? It's like here's all the different like types of characters, but it's still just like a fun platformer that like takes the best parts of the first game and just expands on it.
What's actually cool though too is it's not one of those things where you got to tell somebody, "Hey, you got to play Playroom first." It's not really a
Correct.
story based thing, but there should be really no reason why you didn't play Playroom first because it was free, and the only way you
Uh,
can play this is on uh, a
the
device
same
that already
system
has it.
where yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
you
was kind of
should
funny.
yeah.
I was just gonna mention. I remember seeing like on the PS5 Pro that they were advertising that the Playroom was also going to be available on it,
Yeah. I was
like a
like, oh
selling
good.
point.
Like
Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess.
it was on the last one too. Like cool.
Yeah, but all right. Um, we are almost done, so I'm gonna go through this kind of quickly because it doesn't need to be that long. So we covered pretty much everything that I really needed to cover. There was one more thing that I wanted to mention on the emulation side. So this is still more free stuff outside of buying the emulation device. But so long story short, I bought the Ambernic RG40XXV. I believe you
You
bought
bought.
it as well.
I was gonna say, yeah, we both bought. I bought one too.
Yeah, and so uh, it was bought a few weeks before, but it kind of took them a while to get to us. But did you got yours the same day, right? Did you get yours the same day?
Yep. Yeah, when you messaged me, it was like it's supposed to come in today. I checked my email and it's like it came in, and I was like, oh, cool. So I got home and it was there.
Yeah, and so did you get a chance to tinker around with it at all?
No, I opened it to see what it looked like, but I haven't done anything with it yet.
Okay.
Uh, I want to mess nothing up.
So I do wanted to give some early impressions of it on my end. So the device has some incredible potential, right? Very incredible potential. However, there are some alarming things that people need to be aware of. So the first thing I do want to say though is for anybody who's not aware, this device is basically an emulation device. I've spoke on it in the past a couple times, and then I've also spoke on the gaming devices that came out beforehand that were about a year old now. One of them is my all-time favorite right now, which is called the Mayu Mini Plus, and the other one, which is I guess you could say one generation before this device, which is called the Ambernic RG45XX. They have a Plus model, and then they have the new famous SP model that looks like a Game Boy Advance SP, right? Well, now they've introduced this model, which is back to being a Game Boy Color looking model. And the new thing about it is it's a little bit bigger, and it has a Joy-Con, basically, right? Like a Switch, which opens up the ability to play other systems like N64 and the Dreamcast that I'm very excited about. The good thing is that it has potential, and there's a lot of custom firmware out there that I'm going to get to, as well as the stock firmware. Now, its stock firmware is so good right now that I'm questioning whether or not you really need to upgrade. But will admit, for anybody who gets this device, understand me now, you need to upgrade that SD card immediately. When they say those things are prone to fail, this bad boy, I was tinkering with it and it was failing as I first started playing it. And what was really crazy is that I knew it was the SD card because before I started playing it, the first thing I did was back it up immediately. I already knew, because I had experience, I already knew to deal with these kind of devices. When you first get it, drag and drop the entire card itself somewhere else on a hard drive, in a folder, name it your stock OS, basically. I backed it up two ways. I backed it up just from its raw content, and I flashed a image file of it somewhere else where I can just copy that to an SD card at any moment and create a whole nother operating system for another machine. I know I'm talking some tech stuff that some people, it might go over their head, but just be aware that's what you have to do. Because when I was playing on the actual SD card that it came with, at one point I was really in the settings trying to figure out what did I do wrong to get this to fail, because it was working in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, like, it was the N64 that was messing with the most, because that's like one of the new systems outside of the other systems that I've already have access to on the other devices. And I was playing a game, I think it was called Wave Race or Run or something. I think it's Wave Race, where you just play, or you're on a snowmobile, not a snow. Oh, what do you call it? The thing in the water.
Surfboard?
Not the surfboard, but it's like his actual motor thing.
A jet ski?
Yeah, jet ski. That's what it's probably. Yeah. I was playing that game and it was running just fine. Next thing you know, it was barely getting like 4 or 5 frames per second. It was the audio was choppy and stuff. I'm like, what the heck happened to it? This is like failing. And I thought for sure I hit a setting or something that I couldn't get to work. And when I have took the image that I flashed onto a real SD card, and I put that SD card into it, it worked just fine. It was like I didn't do anything wrong, and it kept working. And then I started to put like different games on there. So my device right now doesn't have everything on there because I was still just testing a little bit, but I did put the entire N64. I know Nintendo, I'm sorry. I put the entire N64 library on here from A to Z, right? And everything was running just fine. And I was like, okay, it definitely was that SD card. And I think I mentioned the week before that they released this update where when you have the update, you can no longer put any more games on the SD card. Do you remember me mentioning that? Which I thought was kind of absurd. So I think this device ships with that update, and the people who had the review unit did not have the update, because when I put that operating system on the SD card, I can no longer put new games on the SD card, even though I have my own SD card. The only reason I was able to put the full library on there still is because this device allows for a 2 SD card setup. And so I don't know if it's a bug or something or how they have their operating system set up right now. But the good thing about this thing is it does have Wi-Fi, and it can do updates to their firmware by Wi-Fi when they have it ready. I do think they're going to reverse that update at some point because, of course, people are buying these devices to put ROMs on it. But from my experience right now, you need to have a 2 SD card set up where the first SD card is just the operating system and the second SD card is all your ROMs, just to bypass that. I'm hoping that they update it because the way I have it set up right now is the entire stock firmware and its games are on the first SD card, and then the second SD card is all my games. I do like how the device separates the two so that we know. But if the first SD card opens up, then I can have a full terabyte of full storage because each SD card does 512 gigs, which is somewhat, I'll admit it's an overkill. Yes, it is an overkill. You don't probably need to have the full library, but if it can fit it, I would like to do it just for one time only, and then I'll never have to do it again. What I do want to say is that the N64 straight out the gate was running just fine. The PSP games that they had on the stock was running just fine straight out the gate. The Dreamcast ones were the same way. And these are the higher end systems. I didn't really check the 2DS. Is it called 2DS or DS? DS.
The DS.
Yeah, I didn't really check that yet from the stock, but I am going to load this thing up probably on the weekend with my entire library of ROMs from all the other devices, and I'm excited to put at least 2 gigabytes worth of comic books that I wanted to put on this thing as well, and a very, very particular niche album mixtape that shall not be named that came out in 2012. I'm going to put that on here as well to test out the music, and probably shout out to Ren and Stimpy. I have their full collection. I'm probably going to put that on here as well to check out the videos and stuff for this, because it has the ability to do all that stuff. The first device, the 35XX, couldn't do that, but the Mayu Mini could, and it had Wi-Fi, so everybody wanted that one over this. Now this device has the Mayu Mini stuff and the capacity and the little control stick, and so it's a little bit better. I think you and me are supposed to link up at some point and really
you gotta help me hook mine up.
Hook everything up. What I gotta tell you is definitely do not play the stock firmware in the machine yet, but you can.
I ain't even turning it on yet.
Yeah, you're gonna fry it. It's gonna fry. Like for anybody, that little black SD card is gonna fry. Also, when you're ejecting a SD card, you know what's funny? I'm gonna tell everybody this right now. The black SD card I have over here in my area in my room, but I actually semi lost it because this thing is so spring loaded. I have it in my hand right now. If you eject the SD card fast, it's gonna fly out the machine. Like it's gonna catapult out the machine, and the SD card is an SD card, right?
Yeah.
So once it goes flying, it's gone. I just backed it up and put everything on the new one, and slid it in there for 1 second and slid it right back out because I was trying to see why it was like taking so long, and it was gone. It flew way past my other computer over here, or my other TV with my retro station. And I know it's over here, I can find it, but it's kind of gone. It is what it is. But yeah, I do also want to mention there is an early access to a custom firmware that's called MUOS, and I may or may not check it out depending on how good I think the stock firmware is. The MUOS one is a little bit more flashy, just like the Mayu Mini and Onion OS. it does look cool to have a flashy system, but at the end of the day, you really just want to boot in the games and just play the game. But that operating system, I believe, is out right now in early access, and it allows you to download an app to your phone, and like you have your Wi-Fi on the machine. And I saw somebody messing around with like the themes on the app on their phone, saying I want this theme, this theme, this theme, and then it would actually download it to your device. And you can download and mess with settings on your device from your phone, basically, which I thought was kind of cool. But some stuff, it might be a little unnecessary, because at the end of the day, we want to get into the gaming. We want to get into the gaming, and when you really fill this thing up, it has the potential to be the most stacked machine ever, with the classics and best games from multiple devices. And I'm talking all the old handhelds like Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, and also like some of those Japanese devices that I think it's called Wondershare. Like I have a lot of different full libraries. You could put the Genesis on here. You can put Sega Master System, Sega Saturn, Sega, the Tower of Sega, basically, Super Nintendo, N64. Like it's so much. So I'm really, really excited about it, especially the ebooks, because I really want to do the comic books, and I really want to read through series on this device, because it would fit this device. You know what I'm saying? Just the theme and the whole idea of it. I'll read my real books on like my tablet, but yeah, that's a big thing, and I'm very excited about it. So I'll keep everybody posted with my impressions of it. There's going to be plenty of videos and visuals that you'll see from other people. I could do a video if I really get to that point, but there's a lot of people who are very much more informed on this, that I think if you are really, really trying to look at it, you should check them out. Just Google it. You'll find a lot of professional videos on these type of things. But other than that, I got one more story and then we can get out of here. It's going to be quick. I got to tell the story of what happened to me just yesterday at GameStop. Unfortunate news, but I'm not going to trash GameStop that much. I just want to mention my recent experience. So yesterday I was like, you know what? It's my birthday. I'm feeling it. I'm about to just go out here and splurge. And I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to just do it. And long story short, I didn't, because apparently GameStop's My Pro membership expired this month, right? This month is supposed to still go, but it expired. And so here's the interesting thing. So for anybody who doesn't know, GameStop has the Pro membership where they give you $5 off in the store, right? They give you $5. Well, once a month they give you $5 off, right, of any product, right? So I go in there, and I don't know if you remember me mentioning, but I was like, I really like the Xbox's new controller that kind of looks like a N64 controller, where it's like see-through, and it was called the Sky Cypher controller. It's like a big special edition see-through blue. Because I think you mentioned you like the Astrobot controller at the same time, right?
Yep.
And so, did we mention about the PlayStation controllers going up $5? I think we did.
We didn't. The regular ones went up $5, and the more special colors went up by $10. So PlayStation just making bad decisions.
Yeah, and so this controller, I don't think it really went up, but it was like a special edition one. It was still like 70. So it was still kind of high. Yeah, kind of was high. But I was just like, you know what? I'm feeling it. I want to go in there, and I'll use my monthly thing on this instead of Astrobot, and I'll do Astrobot later. Right? I didn't know my membership was expiring this month. But here's the kicker. In the system, they've made it that I had the free membership instead of the pro one. But my $5 off for September is still good until the last day of September. I went online to look at this too. That's supposed to expire October 1st, right? Do you know they didn't honor it in the store? And
really?
What really was crazy was that it was supposed to be the last month of my free or my $5 off thing before I renew. I set it up where I didn't auto renew because I just wanted to manually renew, and I didn't know I was at my last month. The dude literally pulled my account and said, I see the $5 in here. It won't let me apply it though. And I was just like, why? He told me the expiration date on it and told me the points that I had I couldn't use. And I was just like, why not though? Like, I couldn't understand.
And I mean, he could do it.
Yeah, and so he gets on the phone with a manager or something because he was the only person in the store. And I was cool about it because, you know, it's like, it's my birthday, it's $5. I'm not really too tripping on it. So I'm just sitting there and I'm listening to him on the phone. I kind of walk around the store a little bit. It's literally just me and him. Nobody else goes in there because GameStop just kind of like that nowadays. And nobody in there. It's just me and him. And he was like, at one point I hear him say, okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, I'll tell the customer. And basically it was just like, yeah, I can't do it. And the manager can't do it. I'm like, bro, you just told me that it don't expire until September 30th. Like, you told me. And so I'm on the phone and I'm like, all right, should I just make the order on the phone? And when I pressed it, it was just like, here's the code. And they gave me a barcode. I'm like, can you just scan this? And he scanned to my phone and he was just like, yeah, it's still not working. I'm like, bro.
That's weird.
Yeah, so I didn't focus on it. I was like, you know what? I'm not about to focus on it. I don't want the product right now. He had an awkward moment. He was like, so, do you still want it? I'm like, no, bro. I'm about to just leave. Don't even worry about it. I'm not about to. I'm going to just leave. I left. I went home. I got on the computer and looked at it. On the computer, it told me it expires October 1st. And I tried to order it online, and it still didn't let me apply the code. And what I think it is that GameStop probably has it in there where it's like, once you're considered not a pro member, it cuts you off. But in the system, it cut me off at the day 1 of September, probably, when it wasn't supposed to cut me off until the end of September. And September was prepaid. But I don't feel like getting on the phone with nobody's customer service. The dude told me, he was like, I could try to call customer service, but it's like 6 something and they're probably not gonna reach back until the next day. Which I call BS in my head. I'm like, bro, you just don't want to handle it and you want to just like have me come back and you don't be here, basically. But I was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna worry about it. It's a $5 thing. I'm not gonna trip over $5. I went home, went over to good old Reliable, which was Amazon, and I actually had a bigger cut there and ended up buying the controller for only like $37 after my rewards. And I kind of just was like, that kind of left me with a sour taste in my mouth for GameStop, because you want to root for them every now and then, but then they have those moments where you get treated like that. And I was just like, I don't really know if I want to renew it right now. I want to wait. Because I was only really using it only on new stuff, and it was primarily Nintendo because that's where I see my savings. But if you're not going to honor the last month, it's just like, well, then that means I only get 11 months of the $5 thing, and I got to pay $25 into it, which is like almost half of it. So then it's like I only get like another $25 off, and it's like I don't know how much worthy that is, but I'm not tripping on it. I'm not going to like bash them too much. I do think I might do the membership again at some point because I do still want to just have a steady release of like discounts on Nintendo games, because the Nintendo games are always full price. That's my thought process. So maybe I might go back to it when the Switch 2 is fully announced or whatever. I do still want to get the Zelda game, maybe a couple more games, like of course Metro Prime 4. And that's what I utilize it for. But I did think that was a little petty because I was just like, come on, bro. Like, it's $5 and you clearly can see it. And you told your manager. But then the manager says, screw you. And then now you're telling me screw you. And I just kind of feel like, man, that's kind of silly. That's kind of silly. I still got my product, though. It's going to come in the mail because I really wanted that controller. And so I'll see that sometime next week. But I couldn't get it from GameStop, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of silly. So anybody be aware, if you're letting your pro membership lapse, the last month's rewards is not going to be available to you, basically. That's basically, and then any of your points is not going to be available to you on that last month. You're going to have to use everything by the second to last month and kiss that last month's $5 off thing goodbye, basically.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's kind of bad to me for GameStop. What do you think? Do you think they screwed up? What do you think? Do you think it's really petty or what? I don't know.
I don't think it's petty. I think they wrote it. They tried to write it in a way to go, you get your $5 each month, but you have to be an active member. If your membership expired this month, then the $5 is waiting for you to come back to us. In a way, is what they're trying to do. But it just, I get business wise, it's like duh, but consumer wise, it's still like, no, that's stupid. Just give them the $5, right? Like,
Yeah.
you said it expires October. Let them be able to use it. Like, it's a very weird. I don't know. GameStop don't need to be making them decisions right now. Like, you want to be as consumer friendly as possible.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm pretty sure if I hopped on the phone with somebody and went all Karen on them, I could probably get it. But I just don't feel like it's worth my time. You know, I make way more than $5 an hour. I feel like that's something that would take an hour with customer service. Because you're going to get through a lot of people who don't want to deal with the runaround first. They're going to give you the runaround because they don't want to deal with the thing because you will be an angry customer. And I don't have the time to be an angry customer over that. I just kind of felt like that's just kind of petty at the end of the day. But I will say, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to be changing subject, so keep going.
I was going to say, I will probably get the membership again at some point because I still want to utilize the discounts I can get on Nintendo's games. Because I think it's Nintendo's season next year anyway. They have every opportunity right now to pretty much steal the remaining part of this generation just by having better priced, hardware and software. But what are you going to say?
Well, this is breaking news, and we'll talk more about it next week.
Okay.
So this will be one of my topics. So just found out. So Annapurna Interactive, it's like a whole studio that does movies and games and blah blah blah. And their game division was the ones that did Stray, What Remains of Edith Finch, and all of that. And Outer Wilds. Well, the game division, all 25 members have just collectively, they all just quit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so apparently they wanted to spin off into their own independent studio away from like the rest of Annapurna Interactive, and the person in charge was like, nah, and pulled away from the talks, so all 25 members just quit. So it's still developing. We'll have more to talk about it on tomorrow, but the developers of Stray, all of them just quit.
This generation is such a generation. I don't think I've ever heard of so many things that's been happening this generation, any other generation. From the mass layoffs to mass people quitting, overpriced systems, studios shutting down, games shutting down within the same year it came out, within the same month it came out, within the same day at some point. I figure that's going to happen at one point. It's like, I don't know. But, yeah, I think in general we might have to say, even probably with this Black Friday, there's probably going to have to be a lot of people who's going to say, I just don't want to consume for a little while. I want to just enjoy what I have and really like almost pick up, all your old games and probably go for the highest trophy, go for the highest achievement. Just enjoy what you have for a little while until everybody else get their stuff together. Like they kind of doing too much right now. And they don't want to give you a quality product. The reason some of these emulation devices are at their peak right now is because the development for a lot of those old games, they gave you a quality product. They found a way to give you a complete game at launch that worked. And it was a classic. And it spawned so many other games and so many other classics. So maybe we got to get back to that. We got to get back to our roots. Yeah, we'll talk more about it when things develop next week. But yeah, we're back to the old format of 2 hours. That's not what I was expecting, but We'll be back to probably an hour format next week. Anyways, a lot to talk about. Birthday edition. I hope a lot of people saw a lot of free stuff here that they liked. There was definitely a lot of games that I mentioned. Out of the official stuff alone, I think there was like 6 games, and then there was a whole showcase of like a whole bunch of fan-made freebies, right? And so I welcome more showcases here and there. Once a month, once every other month, keep the stuff coming. Anyways, enjoy the extra hot weather that we're getting, I guess, at least in this neck of the region. And yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe. I will catch you next week. Peace.